Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered what happens when everything ends? Not just the end of your day or your week, but the real end. The kind of end that silences entire galaxies. The kind that swallows time. What happens when stars burn their last breath? When galaxies grow cold? When even light can't outrun what's waiting for it in the dark? And what if? What if that darkness isn't death at all? What if it's a doorway? This video is a journey through one of the deepest rabbit holes I've ever stepped into. A meditation on black holes, white holes, time, galaxies, rebirth, and the possibility that the universe itself is more like a beating heart than a ticking clock. And I don't expect you to know physics. You don't need to know the equations. You just need to wonder, because that's all this really is, a question. Let's start where things seem to end. Let's talk about black holes. Now, I for one think that a black hole isn't just some invisible vacuum in space. I don't buy the idea that it's just this nothingness that sucks things up. To me, a black hole feels like a planet that's gone beyond all limits. Something so dense and heavy and ancient that it folded in on itself. It's like matter reached a breaking point and collapsed into something deeper than matter. Imagine a planet that got so massive that it couldn't even hold itself together anymore. Its own weight crushes it down to a single, unimaginable point. A place where gravity grows so fierce, even light, the fastest thing we know, can't find its way out? That's what a black hole is. Not an absence, but a fullness. A center that swallowed itself. And once something crosses its edge, what scientists call the event horizon, that's it. There's no coming back. No signal. No echo. It's like existence itself drops off a cliff. Now here's where things get wilder. Because our galaxy, the Milky Way, isn't just floating in space. It's moving. It's spinning. It's swirling in this hypnotic spiral like water in a drain. And at the very center of that spiral is a black hole called Sagittarius A*. It's not just big, it's massive. About 4,000,000 times the mass of our sun. Everything you see when you look up at the night sky, billions of stars, clusters, nebulae, it's all slowly orbiting that gravitational heart at the center. Like dancers in a cosmic waltz, spinning around a silent, invisible partner. So I started wondering, what if that's the point? What if the galaxy isn't just rotating, but spiraling inward? What if every orbit is really a slow fall toward the center? Not in hours or days, but over billions and billions of years. What if the galaxy itself is feeding that black hole slowly, patiently, steadily? And if that's true, then what happens when it's done? What happens when everything that was all the stars, all the dust, all the light finally falls into that central abyss? Does it just vanish? Or is it becoming something else? This is where my mind starts to split open. Because if black holes are the end of matter, maybe they're also the womb of something new. And that brings us to something even more mysterious. Something we've never seen but theorized through math and imagination, the white hole. Where black holes devour, white holes erupt. Where black holes trap light, white holes release it. Where a black hole says you can never leave, a white hole says you can never enter. It's like the mirror image of a black hole flipped in time. Now, to be clear, no one's ever observed a white hole. We don't have evidence. But in the mathematics of general relativity, Einstein's own equations, white holes can exist. They show up as the time reversal of black holes. Which means if you could rewind a black hole's collapse, you'd get something like a white hole. Matter exploding outward instead of falling in. Think about that. A region in space where particles, light, radiation, all of it is pouring outward non-stop, but nothing can push back in. It would be like watching creation in reverse. A fountain instead of a drain. And that got me thinking even deeper. What if a black hole becomes a white hole? What if, after swallowing everything it possibly can, galaxies, stars, planets, time itself, it reaches some limit? What if all that pressure, all that energy, all that crushed complexity has to go somewhere? Maybe it doesn't stay locked in a frozen singularity forever. Maybe it bounces. That's not just a poetic idea, it's actually a theory in modern physics. Some scientists, like Carlo Rovelli, propose that when black holes evaporate, when they lose energy over the course of unimaginable time scales, they don't just disappear. They explode outward in what's called a quantum bounce. The concept comes from something called loop quantum gravity, which says space and time are made of tiny, discrete loops, not continuous fabric like we once thought. And in that model, gravity doesn't crush things into infinite singularities. It crushes things until they reach a limit, and then they expand again. Not back into this universe, though. Into a new one. Imagine that. A black hole, after consuming a galaxy over billions of years, finally reaches its end. And instead of vanishing, it births a new universe. One with its own time, its own laws of physics, its own galaxies, its own version of stars and space. That's the baby universe theory. That black holes might not be the end of information, but a portal like a seed where reality starts again. And here's where it gets even crazier. What if our universe, the one we're in right now, was born from a black hole in another universe? What if our Big Bang wasn't the ultimate beginning, but just a white hole rebound from someone else's collapse? You've probably heard of the Big Bang. It's the leading theory for how our universe began. About 13.8 billion years ago, all of space and time exploded outward from a singular point. The universe expanded faster than light, cooled, and eventually formed atoms, stars, galaxies, and us. But here's the thing. No one knows what caused it. No one knows what came before the Big Bang. Because before space and time, there's no such thing as before. Or so we thought. But if the Big Bang was the result of a black hole's final moment somewhere beyond our perception, then time didn't start here. It continued here. From a past that isn't gone, just hidden. That's the heart of the Big Bounce theory, that the universe doesn't begin and end in a straight line, but cycles. Over and over. Collapse. Rebound. Collapse again? An eternal heartbeat echoing across dimensions. And maybe, just maybe, each black hole is a breath in that cycle. A breath that ends here and begins somewhere else. Now you might be wondering, if all of this is real, why haven't we seen it? Why don't we see black holes turning into white holes? Why don't we see universes being born? And the answer is simple. We're small. We're young. And we're fast asleep, cosmically speaking. Black holes evaporate over trillions of years. We've only been using telescopes for a few hundred. We've only been walking upright for a few 100,000. Our entire history is less than a pixel in the lifespan of space. And even if white holes exist, they might not be visible from here. They might expand into other dimensions, other timelines, other realms entirely. They might be born from something we can't even define yet. But that doesn't mean we stop asking. That doesn't mean we stop imagining. Because here's what I believe. Black holes are not the end. They are the beginning of transformation. They are the places where galaxies go to die and be reborn. They are the final breath of an old world and the first cry of a new one. And if that's true, then maybe the universe is not a machine. It's not a computer. It's not a cold equation. Maybe the universe is alive. Maybe it breathes. Inhale, collapse. Exhale, expansion. And maybe right now, we are living in one pulse of something far greater than we can comprehend. So the next time you look up at the stars and wonder what happens when everything ends, remember that black hole out there. It might be the mother of another universe. Maybe one like ours. Maybe one better. Maybe one still being born. Thanks for listening. And if you have your own theories, your own questions, your own wonderings, drop them in the comments. I'll be reading. I'll be wondering with you. Because the story of the universe is still being told. And maybe, just maybe, we're all part of the sentence.